Hi there, it's Carla. It's day 9, I think, and life is pretty good. I got to spend some time with a friend today and got to bring my dog along with her kids. We went to Squirrel Falls and playing in the stream, rocks and hopping from rock to rock and walking down the stream and sliding and getting in and moving around in the water. It's all very good. Water was very cold, but it was always feels so good to get into that cold water if you can do it, because it feels like it sort of gives your nervous system something else to think about. I feel relaxed. And I wiped out. There's always one, you know? It's usually the blonde. So, but the kids fell too. Like all the time. The kids are just like, anyway, so it was fine. I just slid on a slippery big rock and like yard sailed. And so it was fine. And now, how many hours after? 6 hours after, starting to feel a little stiff. So I just kind of wanted to bring that to you and just kind of let you know how I work with that. And so I didn't really feel hurt in the moment. I didn't really spend any special time with myself other than kept kind of doing what we were doing. Shook it off a little, but not that much. It was fine. And so right now I'm feeling, you never know when you have a little bit of a crash what really got tweaked. And sometimes it's those almost falls that are like worse than the fall. Winter is horrible for me because I'm outside in the weather all the time, walking, hiking all the time. And if I have my cleats on, I tend to do pretty well in the winter, but it's those almost falls that get you worse than a flat out fall because it's like this wrench and this twist. And so it's always good when it happens fast. You don't have time to catch yourself and you just go, right? so here I am, kind of the end of my day, and I'm like, oh yeah, that time has elapsed where stiffness is starting to set in, and I'm aware that my body had something that it kind of is creaky with. And so what I'm noticing in my body is upper body, shoulders and and neck, and my right wrist is feeling a little stiff, starting to feel that stiffness set in. So I know that there was a movement that happened in a way that pushed my body past a comfort zone, and so that inflammatory process kind of starts to settle in. And so I just wanted to show you a possibility of working with an injury, a quick injury. It happened, and just get that moving through your system. Don't let that take hold. Help the toxins and the nutrients flush through and move through that area so that healing is optimal. And that lactic acid tension, the, as a result of a slight trauma, there's an inflammatory process, an increase of acid, increase of histamines, all of that builds up. And so just keeping that flowing, keeping that moving, we get in trouble when that gets all hung up in our system. And I kind of look at it as if it was, and we saw it today at Squirrel Falls. So there were parts of the river that were very, very moving very rapidly. And then there were other parts, if you looked at your body as a river that's moving rapidly and, flowing very freely, there's not a lot of stiffness and gunk that accumulates in the cells when things are moving very freely. But then there were pockets of the river that they had that scummy green algae on the top of it, stagnicity. And so when stagnicity happens, thickening happens and things start to percolate and grow, and there's no movement, there's no to develop its own life, but there's no life leaving and no life coming. And so you kind of want to, I think of my body as if it was different qualities of water. So do I have a bubbling brook happening in my body? Do I have just a pond, quiet? Do I have a mud puddle? Do I have a bog? Do I have a swamp happening in different body parts? So I can feel that when I work on people, like, oh yeah, the fluids are moving very freely in this part of the body. Here in this part of the body, it's a little swampy. Not a lot of exchange of nutrients and toxins coming and going from that body. So I'll just play with you. I don't have a game plan. I never do. I just always kind of inquire, um, and notice how my body's feeling, and then just start with a little. I have a repertoire of tricks that I play with, but it always evolves. It's always a creative process. Who knows what happens? And so, checking in with my body, I feel like this right shoulder is pitched a little bit forward, like I'm a little bit twisted, uh, sort of to forward on my right. Um, and I'm aware of a little creak back here, sort of in my spine. And again, uh, I'm aware of a little tension in both my wrists, but more so on my right side. And so I'm just going to step back, see if. Um, and so I'm going to start by standing flat-footed on the floor, unlocking my knees, and taking 3 nice breaths. I don't know if you can hear my dog in the background. She had a couple, she had a couple good. She jumped from a rock to another rock, and she didn't make the other rock, and she kind of landed in a heap. So I spent a little time. Also, I noticed we were just out in the hammock swing, and I noticed that she was quite sore. So I spent a little time jostling her and doing a little range of motion and giving her body a good shake off as well. So back into my 3 nice deep breaths. And for breath for me is I tend to take in as much air as I possibly can and I dump out the exhale. There's lots of different ways of playing with breathing technique. I have 3 wonderful friends that are transformational breathwork therapists or breathwork therapists. You can spend an hour and a half just focusing on breathing and get some amazing releases happening in your body. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, and so noticing my body finding its balance